Hey guys, Coach Lisle here of thehittingvault.com. I thought today I'd do something fun and do a swing analysis of Tim Tebow. If you haven't heard yet, Tim Tebow a couple days ago said that he was going to try to make it into professional baseball and has invited some scouts in the next few weeks to come check him out. So I thought it'd be fun to do a swing analysis of him. I know that Tim Tebow has been working with a guy named Chad Moeller. I'm not really fully aware of him. I know he played in the big leagues for a little bit. I know he's working with him, so I can't really speak to what he's teaching, but I wanted to kind of break down his swing for you guys. On the other side, I'm using Josh Donaldson. He's kind of the go-to guy right now to talk about mechanics, so he's just kind of the fun guy to talk about. He does a great job of body movements, and so I thought you just would get an example of Tim Tebow's body movements against someone like Josh Donaldson. So let's get into it. Okay, so we're going to start from the very beginning and from the ground up. The first thing I noticed is let's talk about Tim Tebow stance. And he's got a pretty standard stance. I don't mind his posture at all. You can see kind of just looking at his body that he might have a little bit of his weight back on his backside when he gets started. Not a huge deal. There's a lot of hitters that do that. I would prefer it to be a little more 50-50, but not the end of the world. He starts with the bat kind of flat. A lot of hitters do. I have no problem with that. I think it's a good start. So from a setup part, things are good. And I would say from there, things kind of really break down for him. The first thing I noticed is that in his load process. So let's talk about the lower half in the load first. In his lower half load, what he does is he kind of goes back a tiny bit into his backside, and then his front side just kind of reaches. He's got a really wide stance. I'm not a big fan of the wide stance, but I don't think it hurts him. He's a really strong guy, a big guy, and as long as he gets some good weight transfer, I think it's fine. You got guys like Pujols and others who are really strong with a wide stance. I don't recommend it for everybody. I think it's really designed for someone who's really big and doesn't really need as much weight transfer as other people, unless they have a really high leg kick. And so wide stance is okay. And here's what I want you to notice. In his load, he just kind of reaches with that front foot. You kind of see right there. Kind of just lifts his front foot and kind of reaches. And you notice his lower half goes forward, but his upper half stays back. And in doing so, he really loses posture. He no longer has good posture, and so let's talk about that a little bit. The next thing let's talk about is his upper body in the load. When his upper body loads, he kind of just reaches with his hands a little bit, kind of pulls back his back elbow and goes a little bit, but the bat still stays relatively flat and just not really a great swing movement. So if you kind of watch this right here, you can see as he strides forward, he kind of reaches and the bat stays flat, this move right here. In comparison, a really good load, even though he has a huge leg kick, is someone like Donaldson. I want you to notice that when he loads, he maintains this really good posture. His eyes, nose, and chin are in front of his belly button like this, and so you can kind of see he's got that really good posture that way. And you can see as he's loading that front foot that the bat is getting vertical, so you can see that right there. With Tebow, when he's loading, as he's lifting his foot before he goes forward right about there, you can see that his posture is just kind of starting to break down already. The bat's still pretty flat at the same spot right here. So this is the top of their load right here. You can see the big difference in their body posture. And as you watch Donaldson go forward, you can see that bat continues to get vertical, starts to drop a little bit, but as he gets to this launch position right here, the bat is still vertical over his head. And I want you just to notice his lower half and the way his body is set up here. Okay, so he's got this really good lower half. If you watch Tebow, when his foot gets down right about there, you can see by looking at his body that it's almost identical to Donaldson, except for that he's left-handed, so it should be the opposite. So, I want to go backwards a little bit. You can notice really well on both of these hitters here that Donaldson, 50-50, got really good bend in his front knee. He's got really good posture his lower half. Tebow, you can see here that he's got a lot of weight on this backside right here. You can see this knee is really bent and this one's not as bent. That's one way. Another way is you can just look at his shoulders. You can see that if this is the center of him right here, his head's behind there, whereas Donaldson's right there. So just a much better launch position. You can see Tebow's bat never really got vertical. It stayed behind his head, and so he doesn't really get to a good launch position. So Tim, if you ever listen to this, the first thing I would really focus on is getting to a good launch position, getting to this position that Donaldson does. And the way that you do that is by having a good load with this lower half and upper half working together, getting that bat vertical and having a much better weight transfer into your stride. That would be the first thing I would work on. I think that's something you can clean up pretty quickly. I think that's within a week or two of focusing on it and getting to that good launch position. I think that would be a good start. So that's where I would start with his swing. The next thing you notice is just how he uses his body. When he gets to launch position, and this is a pretty common theme for most kids across the country, even some college and pro guys that I get coming in, is that when he gets his foot down, just his sequence, you can see that he starts using his arms, and they can tell some of this by a couple things. One, he gets his arm locked out really quickly and really early. So he gets his arm locked out. He's really around the zone. His bat path goes in and out of the zone, just really sweeping and around. So you can tell his swing is really arm dominated. And because he's really strong guy in his upper body, he probably gets away with it in the cages a little bit. Enough batting practice and front toss. He probably hits the ball pretty hard still because he's so strong. But it's just really not a great swing movement. He could swing a lot better with more power if he used his body. And so some of the ways you can see that he doesn't use his body very well is just the way he gets stuck on his backside and kind of squishes the bug. And so the way he uses his body, if you look really quickly, I'm going to go to launch position. If I was to draw a line on his back foot here, I'll draw a line on the back foot of Donaldson. Watch Tebow's body. As his body turns, mostly his arms doing all the turning, you can see his back foot at contact is going backwards. And then as he continues to turn, the foot continues to go backwards. And so he never really gets into his front side, never gets good weight transfer into the ball, but he's got really good torso rotation, which tells me just he swung all shoulders, all arms, and just got around that ball. And his bat path is not great. One of the ways you can also see that he swung all arms is at contact, his arms are fully extended. He's fully extended here, stuck on his backside in this frame. Now I want you to go watch over here at Donaldson. Donaldson, as he turns, I want you to watch his back foot and at contact. You can see his elbows are still bent pretty good, and his back foot comes forward quite a bit. And you can see the same thing out of almost all great hitters, Ortiz, Batista. We could go on and on where we see this. And it's not so much important that his back foot goes forward a lot. It's kind of a result of how well their bodies turn and how well their bodies work is how much that foot's going to go forward. But you have lots of pro guys who don't go forward as much as Donaldson does with their back foot. But you can definitely see that most good hitters do a really good job of getting off their backside, even if it's just up on their toes, because their hips and their bodies are really doing a good job to get to the ball. And turning and not fully extended. And you can see this right here just with Tebow's backside. You can see it here really well with Donaldson here versus the way that Tebow is. And so the next thing that I would work on with Tebow is just learning how to turn his body right. Learning how to get his body, when he gets to launch position, to really work his hips and body and lower half, get his back foot unanchored, and allow the turning of the barrel to happen from his body and not just his arms. That would be the next thing I would work on. And then lastly, which is probably one of the most important, is I would teach him how to have a really good proper bat path, how to get it from vertical to flat so that the bat stays in the zone for much longer. And so he's not dragging that barrel across the zone and I think him learning how to turn his body would fix that problem in of itself, but that would be the next thing I would work on. So in a nutshell, Tebow, I think he's got a great swing for having not played in such a long time. I still think he has a long way to go mechanically to get to that good swing, and those are some things that I would work on if he was to come to see me, and to try to develop more power, and I think it would help him develop more consistent bat path too. So The biggest problem, though, I see with Tebow trying to make this journey into baseball is that he's going to really struggle with just facing live pitching, facing big league or minor league off speed pitches and velocity. Is going to be really difficult with that long of a break. The average major leaguer or even minor leaguer has a computer in their brain that has vision that has seen thousands and thousands and thousands of pitches over the last few years. And so just helping with that pitch recognition and showing up on time. And so for him, that's going to be his biggest journey. So, mechanically, I think he's got a long way to go. But from a standpoint of seeing live pitching and breaking pitches and stuff like that, I think he's going to really struggle with that. Having said that, I wish Tebow the best of luck. I'm a huge Tebow fan. I think he's a great guy. He's obviously an incredible athlete, but I think that his journey is going to be pretty tough. Having said that, like I said, I'm rooting for him. I'm very curious to see how it all plays out. And so thanks again for watching. Check out thehittingvault.com for more info, and I'll talk to you guys soon.